Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming back to this sanctuary. This is a special opportunity afforded to those who are interested in evolving. The environment we place ourselves in deliberately has a lot to do with the formation of our consciousness and our subsequent destiny in life. And one of the great arts of improving oneself has to do with putting oneself in the right environment. I just drove over here from the Google campus where we meet regularly with many of the employees, and the same environment can be created anywhere depending on the intention and those who are coming into it. But as I was driving up the street here, I saw some of you parking and walking several blocks to come here, and I was actually touched by the endeavor that you take. It's not so easy moving a couple thousand pounds of steel across the road. It takes an endeavor to go anywhere and move around, get situated. But 50% of making advancement in any discipline is simply showing up. And if you show up and you sit there, you get something. And that goes for those of you who have joined us online tonight too, from various places all over the world. Thank you very much for taking the time to tune in and giving your attention. What we're doing now is taking advantage of a facility that's been given to us really by previous great masters of bhakti. When someone who's very elevated in the practice of Krishna consciousness takes the time to write down something, it's available, presumably, as for forever. Of course, many scriptures are lost in oblivion, at least for some time, because these are eternal writings and so forth. But Mukunda Dato Prabhu is an expert in preservation of rare books and scriptures, told me that many of these become lost over time. So the Brihat Bhagavatamrita, which we're reading from, is a book written by Srila Sanatana Goswami. He was a direct disciple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it was written over 500 years ago. And the circumstances are that Parikshit Maharaj, who was a great king, had a mishap when he went to the forest, and he offended a sage, and the sage cursed him to die in 7 days. Actually, his son, his son, who noticed the offense. The sage didn't notice, he was in meditation. The son noticed, and then out of haughtiness cursed the king to die in 7 days. The king then, upon receiving this news, went to the Ganges and sat down to listen to wise people to understand what would be the best thing to do at the time of death. And many, many people came and gave various answers. But then when Shukadeva Goswami came, who was an adolescent, 16 years old or so, everyone there, even the venerable sages, stood up to offer him respect and then offered him a seat of esteem and said, "Please, you speak." He was obviously the most enlightened of them all and had received from his father the complete teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. He spoke over 7 days and nights. They didn't stop. The entire contents of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And just afterwards, the mother of Parikshit, Uttara, came and said, "I didn't hear the whole thing." She didn't have box seats. And she said, "Please give me the essence of what you heard in the time that's left." There wasn't much time left. So the Brihat Bhagavatamrita then is the recount of the Srimad Bhagavatam, but it's in its essence. And Sanatana Goswami wrote this, and for many, many years only a rough translation of the verses was available, never the purports, because they're very difficult to translate. As in the foreword of this book, Joseph T. O'Connell, the preeminent scholar of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, who recently passed away, mentions it's a very difficult task to translate what Sanatana Goswami has written in his purports because of the nature of the Sanskrit and how to present it in English in a way that's understandable, was the expertise of Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu and the editors who worked on this book. So we started reading on Monday via the Facebook and also through phone conference, because this book has been, although it was published and presented maybe a decade ago, has it been that long, do you think? Yes, okay. Seems like a few days ago, but it's been re-released in 3 volumes in paperback, so it's a lot less expensive and it's easy to carry around. And it's just come to America, so we wanted to make devotees everywhere aware of the fact that the Brihat Bhagavatamrita is now available. And I thought the best way to do that is to have a taste through the readings. Does that sound reasonable? Yes. Okay. I thought so. I thought that's why you were here. And please make yourselves comfortable. There's chairs in the back. There's benches. Anybody who wants to move around, be comfortable, go get a drink of water, feel free. It's a casual atmosphere here. First, I'll say a few prayers to be able to enter into the spirit of this beautiful book. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Permission to start? Okay. We're on chapter 1 called Vairagya, Renunciation, from part 2, The Glories of Goloka, from the Sri Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Text number 52. Confused about what he should do, he became depressed. Then in another dream, Lord Shiva came to him along with the goddess to instruct him. Commentary. His heart was drawn to Lord Gopal, but his mind was in a dilemma. Should I take sannyas and strive for liberation, or should I just chant my mantra? Such is the likely result of fellowship with impersonalists. One's determination becomes fickle, and one cannot choose the right thing to do. In this third appearance in the Brahmana's dreams, the goddess Kamakya brought along her husband, the Lord of Kashi, to make her case. Lord Shiva said, "Foolish man, don't take sannyas. Go at once to Sri Mathura. There in the Vrindavan forest you will surely fulfill all your desires." Eager to go to Mathura, the Brahmana set off toward that district, all the while chanting its glories. On the way he came to Prayag. Commentary. The Brahmana headed west, repeatedly chanting, "Mathura, Mathura." Everyone. Mathura, Mathura. There at the king of holy places, by charming Jamuna within the Ganga, he found hundreds of saints who had gathered near the effulgent lotus feet of Lord Mahadeva to bathe at dawn in the month of Magh. Commentary: Prayag is called the king of Tirthas because there one discovers one's heart's devotion for the personality of Godhead. At Prayag, the Ganga and Jamuna unite, and downstream from their confluence, the Jamuna is considered present on one side of the Ganga. This is the Jamuna within the Ganga. Ganga and Jamuna are not only physically united at Prayag, they also share an intimate bond of love for Krishna. 56. On every side he saw them conducting a great festival of worship of Sri Vishnu, with expressions of joyous devotion like constant singing, offering of obeisances, and recitation of prayers. The festival was splendid, with loud congregational chanting of the Lord's names, along with music, dancing, sobbing, and plaintive cries of love. Commentary: in addition to what the verse mentions, the Brahmana saw the elaborate arrangements for feeding and worshipping the Lord in his deity form. This same deity, Bindu Mahadeva, was seen by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he visited Prayag. Innocent, ignorant, and amazed, he said to those Vaishnavas, "Excuse me, you singers, you reciters of prayers, and you who are falling on the ground like rods." Commentary: never before having seen such behavior or even heard of it, the Brahmana didn't know what to think. He was unaware of Vaishnava etiquette and unable to distinguish the Vaishnavas from ordinary stage performers and court reciters, people not worthy of any special respect. And so he naively interrupted the Sankirtan and addressed the Vaishnavas according to their external behavior, not seeing their internal spiritual status. My dear musicians, dear chanters and dancers, loudly weeping and crying out, "Rama, Krishna," you men adorned with beautiful tilak and garlands, please calm down for a moment and stop making such a racket. What is this ceremony you are observing? Whom are you reverently worshipping? Commentary: he mistook some of the Vaishnavas for ordinary musicians, dancers, and chanters of mundane slogans, but at least he admired the beauty of their Vishnu tilak, which resembled in form a temple of Vishnu. Since he was unaware of the transcendental value of the sound of the Supreme Lord's names sung loudly in public congregation, he judged the Sankirtan to be needless noise. He assumed that these people had meaningful work to do and wondered why they were neglecting their duties to indulge in frivolity. Or, as he suggested in his questions, he thought this might be some strange kind of ritual duty or even the unusual worship of some deity. Some of the Vaishnavas simply laughed at hearing this. Others told him, "You fool, just be quiet." Yet others, compassionate to fallen souls, said to him something else. Commentary: some participants in the Sankirtan festival who were newcomers to devotional service began ridiculing the Brahmana. "Oh, you are the best of sages, the most learned scholar." "Oh, you are the best of sages, the most learned scholar. Yes, you are right. We are all out of our wits, and this noise is a public nuisance." Some of the intermediate sadhakas in the group were angered by his comments. Others, the fully self-realized devotees in the assembly, showed him the same compassion they felt for all living beings. As real friends of the conditioned souls, they frankly told him what he needed to hear. The holy Vaishnavas said, "Hey, foolish son of a Brahmana, don't you know anything? Don't ever again address Vishnu's devotees like that and speak such nonsense to them." Commentary: the Paramahamsas were obviously disappointed that despite his birth in a Brahmana family, he was such a fool. Out of kindness, they advised him to refrain from treating Vaishnavas like materialistic people. He should never again ask them to stop making noise as if they were ordinary singers and reciters. 62. Initiated by our gurus, we always worship the Supreme Lord Vishnu with the mantras and methods they have given us. Commentary: what distinguished the Sankirtan devotees from the Pragyotisha Pura Brahmana was that they had accepted Vaishnava initiation from authorized acharyas and were practicing devotional service according to the instructions of their spiritual masters. Because the Brahmana lacked the mercy of a pure devotee, his chanting of the Gopal mantra was bearing undeveloped results instead of mature fruit. Real spiritual knowledge had eluded him. 63. O best of Brahmanas, we are worshipping the Lord in various forms. Some of us worship him in his feature as Nrsimha, some as Lord Raghunath, and others as Sri Gopal. Commentary: having been initiated into various Vishnu mantras, the Vaishnavas were worshipping the Lord in various expansions, including forearm to Narayan and his avatars Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, and Vamanadev. Sri Parikshit said, ashamed, the Brahmana then asked, with great humility but with joy, where does this Lord live? What is he like? What boons is he able to grant? Commentary: this Lord the devotees called Vishnu was unknown to the Brahmana, who was curious whether the Lord lived in a village or a city or somewhere else. What god, human, or animal did his form resemble? What special powers did he have, and what wealth could he give to his devotees? The holy Vaishnavas said, he is the supreme master, and he always lives everywhere, both within and without. No one anywhere compares with him in any respect. Commentary: in the material world, all things are limited in time, space, and substance. A person in a particular body, for example, has only a certain lifespan. Before and after, he is absent from that body. His bodily existence occupies but a small space within the universe. He may move from one place to another, but only within strict limits. And his identity is separate from that of any other person or thing. Lord Vishnu, however, is not an ordinary person, limited in these or other ways. He pervades all time and space, and all other individual people and things are also part of him. This answers the question, where does he live? In reply to the question, what is he like? The Vaishnavas say that he is incomparable. No one's beauty or other personal qualities are equal to his, neither within this material world nor outside it. He is the supersoul within the heart of every living being, the Lord of all lords of the universe, the all-attractive, concentrated embodiment of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. He dwells in the world of Vaikuntha, where he can always be seen, and to his servants he gives his very self. Commentary: ignorant of the many aspects of the Supreme Lord's personality, the Brahmana might doubt how one could devote oneself to a person who has no particular identity or location. Here the Vaishnavas assure the Brahmanas that the Lord does have his own manifold identities and locations. He is the supersoul both of the entire universe and of each individual living being. Thus his greatness manifests itself within and without. He is the ruler of all lords of the many universes. Whatever powers and assets other rulers possess, he has also, but in quantity without limit. He is the supreme absolute truth in person, and his primary location is Vaikuntha. Even though, as the indwelling supersoul, he is hidden, his opulences are fully visible in his form as the Lord of Vaikuntha, whom his devotees can see to their heart's delight. His beauty, charm, and countless other transcendental qualities are all attractive. And in answer to the question, what can he give? The answer is his own self. By this, the Vaishnavas imply that he can easily bestow pure devotion and eternal residence in Vaikuntha, what to speak of the four goals of material life. As expressed by the prefix pra in the verb prayachati, he liberally gives all this plus himself, which further implies that he and his servants share a flood of boundless ecstasy. 67. The Shrutis and Smritis glorify him. Who can describe his greatness? But while you are here, please listen to the profuse histories spoken about him from the Puranas. Commentary. This holy pilgrimage site, Prayag, the king of Tirthas, is a most suitable place for hearing the glories of the Supreme Lord from the authoritative histories recorded in the Puranas. 68. Just bow down to Lord Madhava and behold him, the direct manifestation of the Lord of the universe. Soon you will understand for yourself all this and much more. Commentary. The Lord of Vaikuntha can be seen directly in his image as Madhava, the presiding deity at Dashashvamedha Ghat in Prayag. In the short time the Vaishnavas were speaking to the Pragyotisha, Pura Brahmana, they could only hint at the glories of Lord Vishnu. But if the Brahmanas were to follow their advice by listening to the Puranas, bowing down to Lord Madhava and meditating on the deity's beautiful form, more realization would automatically be revealed within his heart. Shri Parikshit said, thus while looking at Sri Madhava and bowing down to him, the Brahmana noticed some resemblance between Sri Madhava and the Lord on whom he meditated while chanting his mantra. Commentary. Just as the Vaishnavas had predicted, by association with Lord Madhava, the Brahmana began to realize transcendental knowledge. He noticed that certain features of the deity, like the shape of his mouth and eyes, were similar to the features of the Lord, whom he sometimes envisioned while chanting his mantra. There at Dashashvamedha Ghat, he heard some passages from the Puranas in the company of the Vaishnavas, and he saw various deities of Vishnu they worshipped. Commentary. In the presence of Lord Madhava, he listened to discussions on such portions of the Puranas as the Magh Mahatmya, on which? Of Sri Padma Purana Uttarakhanda, which praises bathing at Prayag in the month of Magh. By hearing in the company of pure devotees, he became affected by their strong faith and ecstatic mood. Nonetheless, he remained ignorant, unable to recognize that his own worshipable deity was the same Lord Madhava, the ruler of the universe and the master of the saintly devotees. Commentary. Anyone with good discrimination would have been able to deduce from the similarities between Lord Madhava and Lord Gopal that the deity of the Brahmana's mantra was this very same Lord of the universe appearing at Dashashvamedha Ghat. The Brahmana, however, was too foolish. He continued to think that this Madhava, the Lord of the universe, was the object of worship for these Vaishnavas, and that his object of worship was someone else. The Brahmana had enough trust in the words of the Vaishnavas to be convinced that the deity of Madhava was indeed the Supreme Lord, but he hadn't accepted enough of their mercy to understand that all along he had been worshipping the same Lord with his mantra. Lord Madhava has 4 arms, he thought, and is decorated with a conch shell, disc, club, and lotus. This is not my deity. Why should my Lord look like this? Commentary. The Pancharatras describe the form of Lord Madhava among the 24 Vyuha expansions of Narayan. Gada Shanka Chakra Padmam Bibram Madhava Uchite. When the Lord is holding his club, conch shell, disc, and lotus, in that order, clockwise from his lower right hand, he is called Madhava. What's he called? Madhava. Correct. 74. My Lord doesn't appear as half man, half lion. He doesn't become a dwarf or take the forms of a fish, turtle, a hog, and the like. Nor does he become the Lord of the Raghus, with the signs of a king and bow and bow in his hand. But maybe my deity does somewhat resemble the Gopal worshipped by some of these devotees. Commentary. The Brahmana could not identify the deity of his mantra with Lord Ramachandra, who appeared as a great king with the royal symbols of throne, chamras, and white umbrella. Okay. Thank you so much. Commentary: the Brahmana could not identify the deity of his mantra with Lord Ramachandra, who appeared as a great king with the royal symbols of throne, chamras, and white umbrella. Still, I cannot imagine that my deity is the Lord of the universe. My deity doesn't have the characteristics I have heard described in the glorification of the month of Magh and other scriptural texts. Commentary: Lord Madhava of Prayag is described in the story of Devajuti, which is included in the Magh Mahatmya of the Padma Purana. Quote, he saw the Lord seated on Garuda. The Lord's complexion was the color of a new rain cloud. He had 4 arms and broad eyes, and he was decorated with all kinds of ornaments. Brahma and the other demigods, Sanaka and the other yogis, and Kapila and the other perfected mystics want to see you in person. The current verse says that the Brahmana heard from Magh Mahatmya Adao, the Magh Mahatmya, and other texts. Those other texts may have included the section of Sri Skanda Purana that glorifies Prayag Tirtha. 77. With his many cowherd friends, my Lord takes care of the cows in the forest. He holds a flute to his mouth and is decorated with forest ornaments. Just like an ordinary person, he transgresses the religious principles of saints, being always greedy to enjoy amorous pastimes with all the cowherd girls. Commentary: arguing on the strength of the evidence he has gathered about his Gopal from meditating on the mantra, the Brahmana here tries to prove that the deity of his own mantra cannot be the Lord of the universe. The Brahmana's worshipable Gopal is always in the forest with his friends, busy taking care of his cows. His flute is usually near his mouth because he very much likes playing on it. He also likes to decorate himself with forest items like peacock feathers, garlands of kadamba flowers, red oxide, tilak for his forehead, and rings of gunja berries for his ears. Like a wayward materialist, he violates the laws of cultured behavior by consorting with other men's wives and behaving in other socially forbidden ways, none of which suits the character of the Supreme Lord of the universe. Even if in some features the Brahmana's Gopal resembles the Gopal worshipped by some of the local Vaishnavas, the Narayan expansion called Gopal, that Gopal Narayan cannot be the same person. Lord Narayan could hardly go wandering in the forest tending cows, nor habitually break the principles of religion. 78. By the power of the goddess, I have felt bliss in worshipping him. Therefore, I shall never abandon him or my chanting of his mantra. Commentary: Vaishnavas may question how one can realize ecstasy in worshipping anyone other than the Supreme Lord, but the Brahmana counters that it is possible by the potency of the goddess Kamakhya. Since she ordered him to always chant his mantra, and since he feels such pleasure in chanting, why should he give it up? Thus the Brahmana continued chanting his mantra in seclusion as before, and by the power of the saintly company of Vaishnavas, he would see his Lord as if directly in person. Commentary: since the ignorant Brahmana lacked the instructions and blessings of a pure devotee spiritual master, he had not yet developed true knowledge and faith, but still he was reaping the benefits of sadhu sangha in Prayag. Even without the support of Guru and Shastra, he was making some advancement by associating favorably with Vaishnavas. He kept chanting the 10-syllable Gopal mantra, renowned among all mantras as the most excellent. And as his heart became more and more cleansed, he entered into an intense meditation in which he saw his Lord as vividly as if the Lord were physically present. 80. Because of the nature of the object of his meditation, he sometimes fainted in ecstasy. And when he woke up and noticed that the time for chanting his mantra had passed, he would lament. Commentary, sometimes the ecstasy of his meditation made all the external functions of his senses stop, as if he had achieved samadhi. This symptom was but a superficial reflection of the advanced conditions of bhava and prema. It arose not from mature understanding of the object of meditation, but from the transcendental influence of the object himself. What? He's not receiving sambandha gyan. He doesn't know what the mantra is. He has no context or spiritual orientation. And one, in the nectar of devotion, there are descriptions of various, it might be called premature stages of ecstasy that one attains by association with pure devotees, shadow attachment, and so forth. And similarly, although the Brahmana is not on a high level of prema, he, by the influence of the Lord's presence through the mantra, is still experiencing some preliminary, he's getting some experiences that are beyond his level of advancement because of the presence, because the Lord's personally present there within the mantra. What is the cause of this disturbance? Now I am in great trouble. Night has fallen before I could finish today's chanting. Commentary, that night had come before he could finish his chanting. Was an upadrava, or cause of pain, as well as a vigna, an obstruction to fulfilling his vow to chant a prescribed number of mantras daily. Spiritual life is quite simple, actually. There are various prescriptions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees, and if one follows them carefully, one will advance. Well, we were in Navadvip recently at Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj's Samadhi and Bhajan Kutir. We recounted one of the instructions we heard that he gave to his followers, and he said, as a primary means to advance in spiritual life, one should every day finish one's prescribed number of rounds. But it doesn't end there. He went on to say, even at the risk of one's own life. There's a simple path, but one must take it utterly seriously. And if one does that, the simple tenets of bhakti will have a profound effect. It's only because of perhaps not applying oneself fully. Sometimes devotees complain that although I'm practicing bhakti, I may not be experiencing such ecstasy. But Srimad Bhagavatam then says that by unmotivated and uninterrupted practice, then one will satisfy the self and actually feel that directly for oneself. That is the satisfaction and the advanced stage of bhakti. So one can consider how much is my practice uninterrupted and how much is it unmotivated. Nonetheless, as we see from the example of this Brahmana, even though he may be ignorant because he doesn't have proper guidance yet, he's still making advancement in devotional service. And Prabhupada mentions this in the Gita. In the purport to Gita 10.10, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. He says that in this verse, the word buddhi yogam is very significant. We may remember that in the second chapter, the Lord, instructing Arjuna, said that he had spoken to him of many things and that he would instruct him in the way of buddhi yoga. Now buddhi yoga is explained. Buddhi yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence and yoga means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called buddhi yoga. What's it called? Buddhi yoga. In other words, buddhi yoga is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. People do not know this. Therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. Once you know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. When a person knows the goal of life but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. When he knows that the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in mental speculations to understand Krishna, he is acting in jnana yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in bhakti yoga or buddhi yoga, which is the complete yoga. This complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization, but if he is still not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification that as a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain to him. Is that the end? Okay. And before I move on, I'll take some reflections from the purport I just read. Anything that you heard that stuck in your mind? Yes, Govinda Prabhu. We'll have a microphone to you in 5 seconds or less, or your money back from this class.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So, I really, I could appreciate the sentence in which you were reading that even though the Brahman was foolish and not properly trained in Vaishnava etiquette, as soon as he associated with the Vaishnavas and he got infected by their mood and ecstasy, I thought that was so wonderful. Even though you are not qualified, you have no proper background, just by that love mata sadhu sangha, you are infected so much by the ecstasy. So that was most wonderful.
Yes, a nice point to note and remember by sticking to the association of devotees, especially if one is non-offensive, one can rapidly make advancement, even if one's personally insignificant. Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I like the point that we should be involved in some kind of service to the Lord, so that service will help us to get the intelligence, to make progress and ultimately attain to Him.
Yes, a very important point. We have to be engaged in something. So, Gandharvika and then back to Sukeshwari.
How nice explanation that Prabhupada gives for various yogas, because it was always confusing what is Buddhi Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Prabhupada clearly explains, somehow it just dawned on me when you read that paragraph, that how even in Krishna consciousness we could be one of those.
Yes, and he mentions that one may be aware. Can you go back up to that paragraph, please? When a person knows the goal of life, but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. Last night at a program we did downtown San Francisco, somebody asked me after the program if it's possible to have a clear understanding of the goal, but at the same time not follow the and I did mention the idea of addiction, and there's various ways that one may be attached to fruit of activity, fruits of activities, and mental speculation and so forth by one's nature, and this is a nice way to see how one's making progress through those various levels. perhaps inhibited by those particular addictions. Yes, Sukeshwari.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I really love the point when it says, even if he is not intelligent, a person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization. But if he is still not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instruction. This is, so applicable to me. I was just thinking that this is so beautiful. And Prabhupada, how nicely, very, very clearly explains that you just have to keep to engaging yourself in Krishna consciousness and you will surely achieve the goal.
Nice point. And Uddhava, in his conversation with Krishna, brings this up near the end of the chapter on Bhakti Yoga. Naivo payantyapa yapachitin kavyastavesha brahma yushapi kridam ridamudasmaranta yontar bahis tadubritam ashubhan vadunvan acharya chaitya vapusha swagatim vyanakti. He says that even if I had the lifetime of Brahma, I would not be able to express my gratitude to you because you appear externally as spiritual master and internally as the Chaitya Guru to guide me on your own path. And also, it's mentioned in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita that Krishna makes his avatar to this world in the form of the holy name. And Rupa Goswami, glorifying the holy name, who's appeared in this world in his Namashtakam, says that even if one's avoiding Krishna or one's an offender, the holy name, if one comes in contact and simply chants the holy name, then immediately he can be reawakened to Krishna consciousness. So Krishna is very kind. He not only accompanies the soul wherever he goes, but he also provides various ways and means for every soul to come in contact with the process of devotional service, to come back in contact with Krishna in a favorable way so that they can go back to God. At the same time, he's sensitive not to encroach upon the free will of the living entity. But as we'll see from reading the Brihat Bhagavatamrita, Krishna, as Prabhupada writes in 1.2.17 in the Srimad Bhagavatam, is more eager for us to come home back to Godhead than we are. And this is a very endearing quality that we'll hear about in this book, that Krishna is always hoping, and he's very much attached to each living entity. There's no one he's not attached to and thinks is insignificant because we're part and parcels. We all have a sanitya nitya sambandha prakritischa paraivasa. Sri Brahma Samhita says every living entity has an eternal kinship with the Lord, very intimate relationship. So he wants each one of each living entity to come back to Godhead. Of course, it must be very difficult to then not interfere in the life and to also provide ways in which somebody can be steeped in illusion if that's their choice. He provides that facility for those who want that. Yes? I feel
So Maharaj, I like the point where it said that in answer to the question that what is Krishna capable of giving, the answer is that his own self. So I was thinking of extreme giving. Krishna does.
Yeah, he gives his own self. Okay, last point.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So far so good, it's really fantastic. I did have a question with respect to the situation being described here. Goddess Katyayani was involved with the life of this Brahmana. I'm sorry I missed your class yesterday, so maybe I don't know certain facts. But isn't she a perfect devotee and a servant to Krishna? If she is personally involved in this Brahmana's life, what else should be called as missing so that he's missing certain parts and then he's called uninitiated or unintelligent, and those kind of aspects coming into play? Because it's also mentioned Harinam Chintamani that Goddess Durga takes someone to Krishna if someone is truly sincere. And
well, obviously she's doing the best she can, starting with where he comes from. I mean, she did come to him in a dream. Kamakya Devi came to him, that was the family deity, gave him the mantra, And then when he sort of drifted away, stopped doing his rounds, she came back, said, "You fool, start chanting again." I mean, she's trying to guide him as much as possible. And you'll see, and this also shows that this advancement in devotional service requires many agents of mercy. As we see in the lives of devotees who come to Krishna consciousness, it's not just one person, one entity, but from all sides, Krishna fortifies us. We have, and Kaviraj Goswami in the outset of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita says, "Vande Gurun Isha Bhaktan." He glorifies all the gurus who are assisting. So from all sides, it requires to extricate somebody from the material world, a group effort.
I think that's what the answer. Thank you very much.
All right, continuing in the Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrita. What verse am I on now? I am on 82. "Have I fallen asleep or become haunted by a ghost? Oh, I am so wicked that even when I have reason to be sad, I feel happiness in my heart." Commentary. Trying to answer his own question about the cause of the problem, the Brahmana guessed that he might have fallen asleep, but since he didn't feel tired, he guessed again that something else might have happened, like having been attacked by a ghost. One day, however, while lamenting in this way, as he began to feel drowsy from fasting, he saw Lord Madhava, who consoled him and gave him this instruction. Commentary. Once again, the Brahmana had fallen into a trance of ecstasy, and upon waking, he had become upset with himself. This time he felt so discouraged that he finished the day without eating, which made him... Krishna has eaten dirt in Vrindavan, we heard. This time we felt so discouraged that he finished the day without eating, which made him feel sleepy. Lord Madhava, the deity of Dashashvamedha Tirtha, then appeared to him in this sleep-like state and said something like this: "Why are you lamenting for no good reason? And why are you causing distress to me, your worshipable deity? I assure you that all your ambitions will soon be fulfilled." Dear Brahmana, please remember the words of Vishveshvara, the husband of Uma. Go by the path along the shore of the Jamuna to Sri Vrindavan. Commentary. While reminding the Brahmana of Lord Vishveshvara's instruction, Lord Gopal repeated it from his own mouth and in his own words, thus making it his direct order also. Apart from this, Vishveshvara, Lord Shiva, is the husband of the goddess Kamakya, the spiritual authority who gave the Brahmana his mantra, so the Brahmana should not neglect the instruction. By my mercy, there you will obtain extraordinary pleasure. Go and don't delay anywhere on the road for any reason. Commentary. The pleasure to be had in Sri Vrindavan is incomparable, superior to all four kinds of success and worldly endeavor: religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. The Brahmana should be undistracted while on the road to Vrindavan. He shouldn't stray from devotional service onto the side roads of jnana and karma. Lord Madhava here advises the Brahmana that good fortune will arise by his mercy alone. The Lord's mercy, not that of anyone else. But that mercy of Lord Madhava will appear especially in certain places at certain times and in certain company. 86. Thus the Brahmana arose early in the morning and happily set out on his journey. Gradually he came to blessed Madhupuri and bathed at Vishranti Tirtha. Commentary. Obeying the Lord's order, the Brahmana at once started for Vrindavan. And when he entered the holy Dham, he came first to Mathura city. Following the standard custom of pilgrims, he first visited the bathing place on the Jamuna known as Vishranti Tirtha, Vishrama Ghat. He went on to Vrindavan and there felt enlivened at every moment, for while chanting his mantra, he saw in meditation most of the companions and surroundings from Krishna's pastimes. Commentary, saw Krishna's supremely beautiful cows, cowherds, kadamba trees, and so on, which, although famous, are beyond the power of unqualified people to describe. He wandered here and there in that cow-adorned land without meeting any people, but at one place on the eastern side of Keshi Tirtha, he heard someone crying. Commentary, at the holy place where Krishna had once killed the horse named demon Keshi, the Brahmana met the first human being he was to encounter in Vrindavan. This sacred place, Keshi Tirtha, is described in the Mathura Mahatmya of the Varaha Purana. 100 times more sacred than the Ganga, O goddess earth, is the Jamuna in my own abode, Mathura. No one need doubt this. More sacred than Mathura by 100 times is the place on the Jamuna where the Keshi demon fell, and 100 times more sacred than that Keshi Tirtha is the spot nearby where Krishna rested after the demon was killed. Heading in the direction of that sound, he heard it mingled with constant Nam Sankirtan, performed in pure love. And so he looked for the person chanting. Commentary, from a distance, he recognized only the sound of crying. But as he approached, he heard the names of the Supreme Lord being sweetly chanted with great affection, with syllables drawn out long and melodious, by someone whose heart seemed completely softened by love of God. He became intent upon finding the person chanting. He entered a dense, dark forest where he couldn't see anyone, but he discerned the place from which the sound came, and he eagerly went there to the bank of the Jamuna. Commentary, so thick was the forest that the leaves of the trees left no space for the light of the sun to enter. The Brahmana saw no one, but could still hear the sound of Nam Sankirtan, which drew him further on. There in a grove of kadamba trees, he found a handsome young man whose body was very tender, with the dress and accoutrements of a cowherd. Commentary, the person the Brahman discovered was dressed like a cowherd boy, with a flute, buffalo horn, and herding stick, and with a peacock feather on his head. Every part of his body appeared auspicious. 92. Mistaking this person for his worshipable deity, the Brahmana joyfully called out, "O Gopal!" and fell at the ground like a rod to offer respects. Commentary, because the cowherd sitting before the Brahmana was dressed and ornamented just like Madan Gopal, the Brahmana thought that this was the deity in person. The Brahmana wanted to offer a fitting salutation, so he at once fell flat on the ground and with spontaneous enthusiasm sweetly called out, "O Gopal!" The offering of these 3 syllables, Gopala, was his way of properly honoring the Lord. Gopala, 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 Gopala. Yes, thank you. 93, 94. This young cowherd was the crest jewel of those who know everything. As the Brahmana regained external consciousness, the cowherd recognized him as a Mathura Brahmana, living in the district of the goddess Kamakhya and worshipping Sriman Madan Gopal. The cowherd then came out of the grove, raised the Brahmana, bowed down to him, embraced him, and made him sit down. Commentary, the cowherd knew without being told that his guest was a Brahmana who had traveled to Vrindavan from a long distance. More specifically, he knew that his visitor was the child of a Brahmin family in Mathura who had moved to the Kamarupa district in Assam to worship the presiding goddess Kamakhya. Furthermore, the young cowherd knew that this Brahmana was now worshipping the lotus feet of Sriman Madan Gopal and had come for some special purpose of the Lord's. Actually, Sri Radha Devi had ordered the cowherd to go to the grove that morning. So he bowed down to his guest, raised him from the ground, embraced him, and invited him to sit down. 95. To further gain the Brahmana's confidence, the cowherd pleased him with hospitality and then smiled and revealed something about the Brahmana's life. Commentary. The young cowherd, Gopakumar, greeted his Brahmana guest in a manner befitting the time and place, and then briefly recounted what had happened in the Brahmana's life, beginning with his worship of the goddess Kamakya and leading up to his coming to this place on the shore of the Jamuna. The cowherd expertly revealed things hidden in the Brahmana's heart that no one else could have known. Why did he do this? He wanted to win the Brahmana's trust so that the Brahmana would believe what he was about to be told. Otherwise, the Brahmana might be skeptical about Gopakumar's fantastic story. 96. The Brahmana now understood that this was a young cowherd boy and accepted him as if the boy were a dear friend. Happily trusting him, the Brahmana then recounted his own entire life story. Commentary. When the Brahmana understood that this was not his worshipable Lord, but a cowherd with all good qualities, the Brahmana relaxed. Then, with great humility, considering this young child of the cowherds the best of wise men and a great saint, the Brahmana submissively added an inquiry. The Brahmana said, "From various sources I have heard of various goals and various methods to achieve them, but still I cannot definitely decide what goal I should strive for and what I should do to reach it." Commentary. On the bank of the Ganga at Kashi and elsewhere, the Brahmana had heard various kinds of spiritual advice. He had heard in one place that heaven is the ultimate goal of life, and in another that liberation from the cycle of birth and death is the goal. And as for means of success, he had heard claims that karma was the means, and jnana or other methods. No wonder he was confused. Whatever the goddess ordered me, I regularly do, but I have no idea about the results of those duties or even what kinds of acts they are. Commentary. If the Brahmana did not know what the goal of his endeavor was and how he might achieve it, why was he continuing to chant his mantra? He was doing so because he had respect for the order of the goddess Kamakya. The little she had asked him to do, namely chant this mantra, was not much compared to the complex duties of householders and sannyasis that he had learned about from others. He continued chanting out of reverence for the goddess, not because he understood the essence of what he was doing. He was even unaware whether this chanting belonged to the category of ritual duties, cultivation of knowledge, or devotional service. Therefore, he thought, since his practice was not based on definite knowledge and faith, it had no real value for his spiritual advancement. I therefore think my life worthless. I simply want to die. I continue to live only by the mercy of Lord Madhava and Lord Shiva and his wife. Commentary. It was at Prayag that the Brahmana had reached this point of crisis in his spiritual life. There also, however, he had received the grace of Lord Vishnu in the form of Sri Madhava and of Lord Vishveshvara and his wife Kamakya Devi, who had all appeared in dreams to give him guidance. Only by their mercy have I met you here today, a compassionate and all-knowing person. You are just like my worshipable deity, and I am very happy and satisfied to meet you. Now please deliver this wretched soul. At Prayag, the Brahmana received the mercy of Sri Madhava, Vishveshvara, and Kamakya Devi, but only in Vrindavan could he understand the inestimable value of that mercy. Now he is confident that Gopakumar is as good as Lord Madan Gopal. In other words, Gopakumar's transcendental instructions can easily lift him out of the ocean of his doubts and out of the vast ocean of material existence. Sri Parikshit said, respectfully having heard the Brahmana's words, the young cowherd thought, this person has done everything he needs to do. Indeed, his life is a complete success. Commentary, the word adara is usually understood to mean respect, but it can also mean affection. With respect for the Brahmana's status as a Mathura Brahmana, and with special affinity for him as a fellow worshipper of Sri Madan Gopal, Gopakumar heard him out. Text 102 through 108 describe Gopakumar's thoughtful concern for the Brahmana. All that remains for him to achieve is to see directly the lotus feet of the Lord. He needs to become attached not so much to the solitary chanting of the Lord's mantra, but to the Sankirtan of his names. Harinam Sankirtan ki. Yeah. Commentary, when received by Pancharatric initiation, in a Vaishnava Sampradaya, Vishnu mantras deliver the chanter from illusion and provide him liberation and entrance into the divine life of devotional service. But the highest standard of pure love of God is obtainable not by the Pancharatra Vidhi, but by the Bhagavat Vidhi of Nam Sankirtan, worship of Krishna's names without material motives. The Pragdotisha Pura Brahmana had been chanting the 10-syllable Gopal mantra for some time with good effect, but only after he heard the Shuddhanam from Gopakumar was he able to chant the same names of Lord Gopal in the perfect consciousness of Sankirtan. A fenceless Sankirtan with concentrated attention naturally develops into spontaneous attraction to Krishna and his loving service. It's interesting to note that the natural progression of most devotees is to start chanting Nam Sankirtan and then later take Pancharatric initiation, and that Jiva Goswami and other acharyas point out that having both is necessary because although Nam Sankirtan can deliver one, it's mentioned in Padma Purana and elsewhere that one must chant without offense. There are 10 offenses to be avoided, which devotees like to recite every day to remind themselves that it's a lifestyle choice. And then the Pancharatric mantra and the lifestyle of worshiping the deity keeps one in pure consciousness so that one can chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra without offense. And therefore Prabhupada used to describe how the Pancharatric and the Bhagavat Marg, chanting of the holy names, go on 2 tracks. Just like a train runs on 2 tracks, we run on those tracks in devotional service. Here we see that he received the Pancharatric mantra, of course without any instruction or much, to start with, and then now he's been guided to take to Nam Sankirtan in order to perfect his life. In other words, it's all good. Okay, 105. Certainly no means of perfection is superior to the worship of Sriman Madan Gopal's lotus feet. That worship yields results far beyond what one could expect. It should be performed mainly through Nam Sankirtan, along with reverence and affection for the many places of Sri Gopal's, it should be performed mainly through Nam Sankirtan, along with reverence and affection for the many places of Sri Gopal's pastimes, places one should regularly visit. Commentary, how then had the Brahmana already made so much spiritual advancement? He had done so by worshipping Sri Krishna, although irregularly. He had been worshipping without the complete faith and understanding that come only from the special mercy of Krishna's pure devotees. But any contact with Krishna, the supreme goal of all existence, assures absolute perfection, and so also does any contact with his names, for hearing and chanting his names is the supreme method for attaining Krishna Prema. And we'd like to invite everyone to turn their cell phones on, because tonight we have a special. If your cell phone goes on in the class, you can then be compelled to purchase 1 set of Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Even offensive chanting of Krishna's names, if continued long enough, will free one from disqualifications. Namaparada yuktanam naman yeva harantyagam avishrani prayuktani Nam evanti karanti cha. Sorry, I blew the last line. But in any case, it says that the prescription for those chanting offensively is to chant without stoppage. If you continue. That's okay, she's exempt. Everyone, she already paid her dues. Even offensive chanting of Krishna's names, if continued long enough, will free one from disqualifications, and even namabhas, offenseless chanting without real attachment, will quickly lead to liberation and the rise of transcendental attachment and taste. Are you all feeling optimistic and encouraged by hearing this? Yes. So much so, isn't it? Yes. Keep going? Yes. Okay. Thus, for spiritual upliftment, there is no better practice than worship of the divine lotus feet of Lord Madan Gopal. In this verse, the Lord's feet are described as Shriman, indicating that they fully possess all types of wealth and splendor. They have the potency to satisfy all the heartfelt desires of a devotee and to delight him in ways unanticipated by his conscious and even subconscious desires. The principal activities of this worship is Sankirtan, chanting out loud in melodious song the Lord's names like Krishna, Govinda, and Gopal. Which names was that?
Krishna, Govinda, Gopal.
But it said loud in melodious song. What three names?
Krishna, Govinda, Gopal.
There you go. Sri Parikshit further suggests that the effects of Harinam Sankirtan are enhanced by visiting the sacred places in Vrajbhumi, where Krishna enjoyed pastimes with his gopas and gopis. As much as other obligations in devotional service allow, Vaishnavas should wander about these places and see them with their own eyes. If they do this with love and respect, their Nam Bhajan will soon bear fruit. 106. And there is no better goal than this worship, this very worship, in which pure love of God appears, mocking the four lesser aims of life and bringing the Lord's lotus feet under one's control. Religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation appear insignificant in comparison to Krishna Prema. Only Krishna Bhakti can bring the personality of Godhead under control. Shri Krishna Karshani Cha Sa Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.17. 107. To bring him to this realization, first I must tell him my own history in full. That will clear away all his doubts. Commentary. The Brahmana needs to be informed that Krishna is the goal of his endeavors and that Nam Sankirtan is the means to achieve Krishna. But if Gopakumar were to say this from the start, the Brahmana, his mind ruled by doubts and misconceptions, might not grasp the full import of the advice. Therefore, to win the Brahmana's trust, Gopakumar first needs to describe his own experiences, beginning from when he also received the same Gopal mantra and continuing up to the present moment. That will drive away the Brahmana's doubts and wrong ideas. It will also allow the Brahmana to drink the nectar of Sri Bhagavat Katha, which will render his heart pure enough to assimilate the transcendental knowledge he requires. In fact, that knowledge should then manifest itself automatically, even without needing to be explicitly stated. That was an emphatic mark at the end. 108. Describing one's own glories is disapproved by spiritual authorities, but nothing else I could say will bring about his good fortune. Commentary, as the saying goes, Swa prashamsa dhruvo mrityu. Self-praise is as good as death. All the same, Gopakumar understands that nothing but his own story will dispel the Brahmana's doubts and give him tattva gyan. Because Gopakumar used his mystic power to describe the Brahmana's past, the Brahmana is already inclined to believe him. So Gopakumar should not hesitate to tell his own story and thereby make the Brahmana fortunate, since his own story is very similar to that of the Brahmana and will drive away all his doubts. Sri Radha's order will then be quickly carried out, and what would ordinarily have been a breach of etiquette will be perfectly acceptable behavior. Thus the saintly son of the cowherds made up his mind. He asked the Brahmana for his attention and began to speak about his own life, just as a sage versed in the Puranas would speak an epic. Commentary: Gopakumar spoke with great authority. Although he was just a young herdsman, anyone listening to him would think he was an ancient speaker of the Puranas like Romaharshan Sutta or his son Ugrashrava, or a seer of Vedic mantras like the Rishi Vamdev. His narration was as authoritative as the Puranas and fully in accord with all Shastras. The sage Devala has defined the characteristics of a rishi. Quote, a rishi is one whose semen flows upwards, who is fierce in observing austere vows, who eats moderately, controls his senses, is able to curse and bless, and adheres firmly to the truth. Sri Gopakumar said, there are many relevant historical accounts, but I am going to tell you my own story, including recollections of what occurred at times when I was bewildered by ecstasy and other distractions. Commentary: there are many ancient historical accounts about what certain people did and said to one another that may be useful in explaining how to determine the best goal of life and the means to achieve it. These accounts are called itihasas. Quote, a text that consists of narrations of past events and includes instructions about religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation is called an itihasa. Gopakumar's plan, however, is to tell his own story instead. Of all forms of evidence for establishing the truth, experience from one's own life is the strongest. Thus, when Gopakumar frankly reveals the events of his life, the Brahmana should be persuaded of the higher truth that Gopakumar has grasped. On occasion, Gopakumar was unaware of what was going on around him because the overflowing of his love for the Supreme Lord disturbed his external perception. Even so, by virtue of his advanced self-realization, he can now recollect even the details of events of which he was unconscious when they occurred. Many of these personal events are also too confidential to discuss freely in public, and Gopakumar may be somewhat embarrassed to mention them. He feels obliged, however, to do everything he can to help enlighten the Brahmana. As Gopakumar will tell the Brahmana in the last chapter of this book, just see, I've told you everything that happened to me, and everything done by the Lord and his devotees, even that which is extremely confidential. I am the son of a Vaishya of Govardhan, who made his living as a cowherd. As a young boy of that community, I used to tend my own cows. O best of learned Brahmanas, I stayed in the company of other boys there at Govardhana, here in Vrindavan, on the banks of the Jamuna, and at various other places in the district of Mathura. Now Gopakumar begins his story, which will continue till the end of the 6th chapter. He was born in a Vaishya community in a family of cowherds. Many scriptures, including Srimad Bhagavatam, describe that Vaishyas may engage in 4 occupations: trade, banking, farming, and cow protection. As this story unfolds, we shall find that although a long time has passed since Gopakumar was an innocent boy at Govardhan, he has not aged at all. As he explains later, this was due to a blessing given to him by his spiritual master. By the potency of this mantra, may you live a long time, may you always have the form of a cowherd boy, and may you develop the right mentality for tasting the mantra's fruit. Gopakumar's tending a herd of his own cows means that his family was relatively well-to-do and independent. In the course of doing this work, he wandered over the area within the 24 yojana circumference of Mathura Mandala. Among the places he used for cow herding, his special favorites were Govardhan, the forest of Vrindavan, and the shores of the Jamuna. Sometimes he went to other locations in the Dham, like Mahavana. But according to one transcendental opinion, Vrajabhumi consists of nothing but Govardhan, Vrindavan, and the Jamuna, since these 3 places pervade the entire Dham. In any case, there is no place outside Vrajadham where a cowherd can get real benefit from his occupation. Gopakumar addresses his new student by saying, O best of learned Brahmanas, because the student hails from the Brahmana community of Mathura. Gopakumar addresses his new student by saying, O best of learned Brahmanas, because the student hails from the Brahmin community of Mathura. 113. In the forest, we regularly saw a certain first-class Brahmana wandering from place to place. He was very renounced, and his body appeared like that of a god. This person the boys frequently saw was in truth the best of Brahmanas. His body was golden and very beautiful. He was always chanting the glories of Krishna. Sometimes he sang and sometimes he danced. Sometimes absorbed in meditation, he chanted his mantra to himself, and sometimes he gave himself over to laughter. Commentary. The outstanding characteristic of this Brahmana was that he always vibrated Krishna's glories, either with the two-syllable name Krishna or with other names of the personality of Godhead. He would sing these names sweetly in various ways. He sometimes appeared withdrawn into his private japa and dhyana, which he dutifully performed daily, even though he was already perfect in chanting the Lord's holy names. As the tantras prescribe, even a person who has perfected the chanting of his mantra should continue to perform regular worship through japa and dhyana to show gratitude to his spiritual benefactors. I'll read that again. As the tantras prescribe, even a person who has perfected the chanting of his mantra should continue to perform regular worship through japa and dhyana to show gratitude to his spiritual benefactors. Quote, even if one has perfected his mantra and is completely pure in heart, he should still worship the Lord of at the three junctures of the day by the method prescribed. Or at least at one of these 3 times he should do this worship, and 108 times he should chant japa of his mantra. When the Brahmana seemed withdrawn, intent on his prescribed chanting and meditation, in fact, his outward senses were inactive, not because he was controlling them out of duty, but because ecstatic love was swelling up within him. Sometimes he shouted or loudly sobbed, or stumbled and fell to the ground, or rolled about on the ground like a madman. Sometimes he fell unconscious and lay still like a corpse, the flood of his mucus, saliva, and tears turning the dust on the cow path into mud. Purport, because the Brahmana was practicing such intense chanting of the Lord's names, he would sometimes feel joy so immense that he would lose outward consciousness. Sometimes he would collapse without wetting the ground, as described here, and then he would appear to have died. Out of curiosity, we cowherd boys would often come look at him. But when he saw us in front of him, he would bow down to us with devotion. Commentary, he apparently had great respect for the boys, despite their having no special respect for him. 118, he would heartily embrace us and affectionately cover us with kisses as if we were his best friends. He was unable to give up our company. Immersed in Krishna prema, this Brahmana was attracted to these village boys because they resembled young Krishna and his cowherd friends. Priya Bandhu has several meanings: best friends, close relatives, most dear devotees of the Lord, and the Supreme Lord who is dear to his devotees. He was pleased with my services like giving gifts of milk products. One day, meeting me on the shore of the Jamuna, he embraced me and spoke in this way. Gopakumar gave his new friend presents of milk, yogurt, and other milk products, and would also carry his water pot and follow him around. This kind of voluntary service pleased the great soul, who became disposed to give the boy his mercy. My dear child, if you want to fulfill all your desires, please bathe at Keshigat and then accept from me this mercy of the Lord of the universe. Commentary, normally we consider the mercy of the Supreme Lord like something intangible, but the saintly Brahmana called it this mercy as if it were a tangible object in front of them. He told Gopakumar, just take it from me, as if literally placing it in his hands. Thus, after I bathed, he imparted to me the same mantra you are chanting. Although he was fully satisfied in himself and indifferent to material things, he was the crest jewel of all compassionate souls. Since Gopakumar and his student have been initiated into the same mantra, their relationship should become very friendly. When Gopakumar got his mantra, he should not have thought that this was his guru's way of reciprocating the gifts of buttermilk and yogurt. His guru, being fully self-satisfied, did not need the service. Only out of infinite compassion for the fallen souls did the guru show Gopakumar his mercy. He was about to explain the method of worshipping with the mantra, but as soon as he mentioned the object of meditation, he was overcome by pure love of God, became confused, and started crying like a woman separated from her lover. Gopakumar's guru had the instructions for properly using the mantra just on the tip of his tongue. He was about to tell Gopakumar how to touch the body with the syllables of the mantra, how to meditate systematically on the meaning of the mantra, and all the other details for reciting the mantra in worship. But as soon as he started to describe the beautiful form of Sriman Madan Gopal, a sudden ecstasy caught hold of him, and crying like a lovesick woman, remembering her distant beloved, he lost his train of thought. When he regained normal consciousness, I was afraid to ask him anything. He stood up and went away, distressed. And after that, he was nowhere to be found. Commentary: having just received initiation, Gopakumar felt deep reverence for his spiritual master, and without first being spoken to, he dared not say anything. He feared he might have done something offensive to upset his guru, and thought that if he said anything wrong, his guru might start crying again. Why didn't the saintly Brahmana give the missing instructions unasked? In his ecstatic mood, he was unhappy and distracted, so he went away saying nothing more. And because he had no fixed residence, he was not to be found again. I had no idea what this mantra was and what I had received, what fruit its chanting would bear, or even how the mantra was to be practiced. Gopakumar did not even know the name of this 10-syllable mantra. Was the mantra meant to be sung out loud or chanted quietly? Or was it a mantra at all? If it was powerful, when chanted perfectly, what fruit would it bear? His guru had told him that the mantra would fulfill all his desires, but that was vague. Until now, Gopakumar had never thought seriously about his ultimate desires and goals. Simply out of respect for the Brahmana's words, I constantly murmured this mantra in secluded places, unseen by others. I chanted it just out of curiosity. Gopakumar, aware of his ignorance of the true nature of the mantra, was embarrassed to chant it in public. But it certainly fascinated him. By the influence of that great person, even such aimless chanting purified my mind, and I developed faith in the mantra. Without scientific knowledge of its practice and significance, the young sadhaka Gopakumar could hardly have solid faith in the mantra. He was not firmly convinced of its efficacy. Nor was he affectionately attracted to it. Nonetheless, his naive chanting purified his mind of lust, envy, and greed. Contemplating my guru's words, I understood the mantra to be the means for achieving the Lord of the universe. Thus I became satisfied and absorbed in chanting. Commentary. Gopakumar's guru had told him, accept the Supreme Lord's mercy. Remembering this, Gopakumar concluded that the mantra was meant for obtaining the favor of the Supreme Lord. This was a satisfying reason to take enthusiastically to the chanting. I became eager to know who this Lord of the universe was and when I might be able to see him. With this as my only aspiration, I abandoned my home and other attachments and went to the bank of the Ganga. Wanting to identify the Lord of the universe, Gopakumar compared him to familiar people and things, but he could find no clue in the place where he had been brought up, so he left home to wander in search of the Lord. Hearing the distant sound of a cow hearing the distant sound of a conch shell being blown, I followed that sound to its origin on a sandy bank of the river. There I saw a learned Brahmana worshipping a Shalagram Shila, and I bowed down. I asked him, Master, what are you worshipping? Laughing, he replied, Dear boy, don't you know that this is the Lord of the universe? Commentary, the worshipper was surprised that anyone, even a child, wouldn't know that Sri Shalagram is a direct incarnation of the Lord of the universe. Hearing this, I felt unlimited happiness, like a poor man finding a welcome treasure, or a family man reuniting with a long-lost relative. I gazed for a long time at the Lord of the universe and with faith bowed down to him, my whole body flat on the ground like a rod. By the Brahmana's mercy, I received some water that had washed the Lord's feet and some remnants of offerings to him. Commentary, with newborn faith and affection for the Lord in his Shalagram form, Gopakumar happily accepted the Lord's Charnamrita, along with remnants of tulsi leaves and other items earlier offered to the Lord. Then the Brahmana, preparing to return home, laid the Lord of the universe to rest in a box. Pained to see this, I tearfully complained in this way. My God, you are putting the Supreme Lord into a box. Such an unfit place. And he hasn't even eaten. How will he sleep if he is hungry? Gopakumar thought the little box an ill-chosen place for the Lord of the universe. Told that being placed in such a box is what is done with the deity after worship to him is finished, Gopakumar replied that he had not seen the Brahmana make an offering of food substantial enough to satisfy the Lord's appetite, and that the Lord should not be forced to sleep without first being fed. O excellent Brahmana from Mathura, because of my material conditioning, I was unaware that the Lord of the universe is different from everyone and everything in this world. Gopakumar was ignorant of the Supreme Person's transcendental nature. The Lord can enjoy himself everywhere simultaneously by expanding into an infinite number of forms. There's no reason to worry that he will go hungry because of one devotee's neglect. He may seem to be a small stone trapped in a box, but in fact the Lord is unlimited. As I complained and suffered in my uncontrived lamentation, the Brahmana tried to console me. Full of humility, he shyly spoke. Commentary, the saintly Brahmana was ashamed of being too poor to feed even a human guest. What to speak of the Supreme Lord? And in fact, the place where he had now performed his worship simply had no facilities for cooking. But the humility the Brahmana felt was not caused by any external circumstance. It was a natural ecstasy of his individual type of love of God. O new Vaishnava, he said, what more can this poor man do? I can offer to the Lord of the universe only the meals I prepare for myself. Commentary, the Brahmana who lived near the Ganga thought, if this cowherd boy has never seen a Brahmana like me worshipping Shalagram Shila, he must be new to spiritual life. If you are eager to see the Lord's opulence, a great festival of his worship, please go to the capital city of this country's very saintly ruler. He is attached to the worship of Lord Vishnu in great love. You will find his city not far away, and there you can behold the Lord of the universe, who is so difficult to see. Commentary, the Lord of this district on the shore of the Ganga was a sincere Vaishnav, which made him a greater saint than any karmi, jnani, or ordinary yogi. He worshipped the deity of Lord Vishnu with festive opulence. If Gopakumar liked, he could go to the capital and see for himself this king's wonderful worship. He could see the Lord's beauty, the rich offerings made to the Lord, and his luxurious sleeping quarters. The opulences of the king's deity were much more readily visible than those of the poor Brahmanas, Shalagram Shila. And for those who feel edified by hearing the Sri Brihat Bhagavatamrita, the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust has just republished the book in its entirety it comes in 3 volumes. It's a very lengthy work. And these volumes are now available for pre-order. Why don't you put up the website? It's at bbtbooks.org. And if you go here to bbtbooks.org, you can make a pre-order for your book. Look at that. Pre-order the book today. Sri Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Prabhupada said, Brihat Bhagavatamrita is very famous. Anyone who wants to know about the subject matter of devotees' devotional service in Krishna must read this book. There you have a little text, keep going down. There's the author himself, with the translator on the right, Sri Gopi Puranadana Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada, who made available to the world this ocean of nectar. And on the left, Sanatana Goswami, the author of Sri Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Upcoming readings mentioned there. This is number 3. We've got one more to go tomorrow. And you'll see at the very bottom, place to contact us to order these books. And also you can pre-order the book right there. How much is it, you might say? For the 3 books, how much? 47? 46. $46 for the 3, for all 3 books together. Previously, each book itself, this manifestation, was $45. So it's quite a difference. And the books themselves are in paperback, a little bit lighter to carry around and hold up. I was getting quite a workout here just holding this one book for a while. That's my exercise for the day. But we highly recommend you have this in your library. Take this book home. And as you can see, because it's the story of the life of Gopakumara as he's telling it to his disciple, and this is, he's doing so based on the instruction of Sri Radharani, who sent him there, who knows the movement of all souls in this world and knows who's sincerely ready to take the process of devotional service. Then you can read this aloud with your family, and certainly everyone should read it several times to get a sense for the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, you should read the Bhagavatam 108 times, and at least, and the Sri Brihat Bhagavatamrita, just, as many times as possible, at least several times, to get a sense. There are very important points made throughout the Sri Brihat Bhagavatamrita and throughout its purports, given to us by Sri Sanatana Goswami, who received direct instruction from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in order to have comprehensive understanding of the process of pure devotional service, and very specifically this kind of bhakti that we're entering into, introduced by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one should read this book. So take these sets. They also make great gifts to give to other surprise people by sending them the 3-volume set of Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Apparently they've just arrived in Los Angeles. They're on the shores. They may be on a truck right now, actually, coming from the docks to the storage room. And I just talked to Savas 2 days ago. He said there's no more room in the storage. I said, don't worry, Savas. These will all be gone before you know it. So take the Brihat Bhagavatamrita. If you already have one, get this set also. Send one to every one of your relatives and introduce it to everyone you meet. We'd like to sell all of these books immediately to make sure that they're available in the world, at least to make sure they're available in the world. Because the only thing lacking in the world is Krishna consciousness. And it emanates from the holy name of the Lord, from the great teachings of the Acharyas. And there are all too many, if I dare say this, it may be blasphemy, Harry Potter books. Did I even pronounce it right? Harry Potter books in the world. I'm sorry if it's an offense. But that simply stimulate the mind and senses, but do not awaken pure love for God. So please make Sri Brihat Bhagavatamrita and all of Prabhupada's books as popular as a million times more popular, 1 trillion times more popular, and then a trillion times to the trillionth power, more popular than Harry Potter. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Go Premanande! Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, hey, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman.